Hey guys, welcome back to Global Studies. It is September 11th, 2020, and as you may have already noticed or picked up on, today's class is going to be a little bit different. This is something I do every year in my classes across the board, and I'll explain it in a little bit, but we're going to take all of our Global Studies agenda that we've been doing, the speeches, creating strong arguments, looking at issues that affect the world, and kind of just push that to the side for today and focus on an event that happened 19 years ago to the day, which was September 11th, 2001. And if you've had me in class before, excuse me, you've been able to watch some videos with me of news coverage of the exact day that it was happening, do some research and go in depth to learn a few different things that we didn't know. And today we are going to kind of continue that trend and focus in on September 11th, 2001 as a Remembrance Day to all those that were lost that day, and also in an effort to make sure that we learn about it so that hopefully something like this never happens again. I'm getting to the point now where I've been doing this for so long that a lot of you that are watching right now probably weren't alive when this happened. When I first started teaching, a lot of kids had been alive. They remember it being very young. I can tell you personally, I was in high school when it happened, but this was 19 years ago. So I'm sure not many of you, if any of you, lived through it. And if so, probably don't remember much of it. Today I hope to change that a little bit. I'm sure that you've learned about it in the past in other social studies courses in middle school, maybe even elementary school. And like I said, maybe you've had my class the past few years and you've got to learn a little bit of it that way. But we're going to continue to do that today. So our whole class today is going to focus around September 11th. And that's going to include our assignment and then possibly I'm going to give you two choices for what your assignment's going to be for today, but both are going to rely upon you doing a little bit of work instead of just standing up, or me standing up here telling you about it. I don't think that I or my words can do it justice. So I'm going to leave it up to you. But before we do that, I want to touch on just exactly what happened and give you a brief, very, very, very brief summary of what happened. And that's what I have up here. And this is to help you out later on if you choose to for one of your assignments to come back and take a look at this list. It's a very short list about what's important. And there are many, many things that I left off this list that maybe you will find important, that I definitely find important and just weren't able to put up there, that hopefully I can touch on in this brief summary. But basically, we'll start there with what's important. Can't just give you a list. Everything is important. From what happened to how people responded to the first responders who were there to help try to save people who also lost their lives. But basically, in not so many words, this was a day where a terrorist attack was carried out on the United States of America. And it was carried out by a terrorist group called Al-Qaeda. And the leader of this terrorist organization is the guy right underneath Osama bin Laden, who is now dead, shot at the hands of American forces. But they decided to employ a terrorist attack upon the United States, and not in just one location. And that's why it says locations here. We do know, most of us, that September 11th, we hear that and we think of New York City, but there were a few other places as well. One of which was the Pentagon, which is basically the United States defense building. Think of it that way. It's where the leaders of the Marines, the Army, the Navy, all of those defense areas and programs that are, designed to protect the United States, that's kind of the meeting spot for them. It's called the Pentagon because it's a five-sided building, five-sided structure. And that was one of the places that was hit too. With this terrorist attack. Basically what happened was the terrorist organizations took over planes that were in midair that had taken off from New York City, filled with jet fuel to go across the country. And their plan, which was carried out, was to crash them into buildings: the World Trade Center, the Twin Towers, as it's also known, the Pentagon, and the White House. The White House wasn't hit, and that's actually where we have this bullet point of United Flight 93. If it sounds familiar, it's because there was a movie made about it, or maybe you heard about it in another class. But it's a very sad story, as this whole day is, where the people actually took over the plane and didn't allow the plane to be crashed into the White House by the terrorists. However, the World Trade Center was hit, and it's called the Twin Towers because it's two buildings in the New York City skyline. And when I say New York City, I'm specifically talking about Manhattan, which is an island in New York City, actually. And it was hit, both buildings were hit at separate times with a little bit of time in between. They both ended up falling and basically killing thousands of people. It took a while for the buildings that fell to be cleaned up. They were just very, very large buildings that fell down, collapsed on themselves. And in effect, they also destroyed a bunch of the other buildings in surrounding area down in New York City. It was a mess for a long time. Unfortunately, we talk about the first responders, which aren't up here, but that is also a very important part. Many people rushed into New York City to help save people in the building while it was still standing after the towers had been hit. And unfortunately, a lot of those people died when the buildings collapsed. There is now a remembrance or memorial building and museum at that location. It's been 19 years. It has since been cleaned up. But a new building stands, and it is called One World Trade Center. And it is a place that you can go and visit in Manhattan, in New York City. And if you ever get the chance, I highly recommend that you get to do so, or do so if you get the chance. It is a very humbling experience, and it is a very sad day, but place to visit and take in the events that happened. Many people, myself included, know somebody who either was affected or hurt or even killed by these events. So it's very important that we have a good grasp of what happened in an effort to never forget and to hopefully never let it happen again. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it on to you guys, and I'm going to give you two different options for your assignment today. The first is going to be to tell me what you find important that you didn't know already. And what I'm going to ask that you do, we'll stick with black, you're going to give me 15 important facts that you didn't know about September 11th, 2001. 15 things that you had no idea about. There are quite a few of them. Just tell me, you can number it on a piece of paper and take a picture and send it to me. That's totally fine. But 15 things that you were not aware of about that day. I want to caution you here because there are a lot of conspiracy theories out there about what happened, and you can put that in the 15 things that you did not know, but make sure that if it is a conspiracy theory, you label it as such. For those of you that don't know what a conspiracy theory is, it's basically an idea that what happened, or what we're told happened, didn't really actually happen, or there was a different way that it happened. There was a different meaning behind it. So I want you to be very careful about what you choose there. The next option is to hopefully recreate the class that I would have created for you if we were in person. And that's for you guys to watch the news coverage of that day. So it's basically like watching the events happen live, and do a summary on it. A quick 5 to 10 sentence summary. I'm going to give you the news website. It's on YouTube, so all you have to do is just go up to the search bar after you're done with this video and type in what I tell you to type in. I'll give you the exact website. I'll show you a screenshot of what the videos look like. They're long videos. You can fast forward through some parts where there's commercials or you don't know what's necessarily happening. Feel free to rewind. But that will be a choice that's up to you guys. If you want to tell me 15 things you didn't know about September 11th, 2001, or watch the news coverage of that day and write a summary that is anywhere from 5 to 10 sentences. I look forward to seeing what you guys choose, what you do. Either way, not one assignment's going to be easier than the other, so it's totally up to you what you want. I highly encourage you to watch the news coverage. Even if you want to go with the 15 facts and find out things that you didn't know about September 11th, I highly, highly encourage, I strongly recommend, I hope that you do watch some of the news coverage if you have not seen it to understand exactly what happened. It is not an easy watch, so if you're worried about that, don't watch it. I totally understand. But if you'd like to see history actually unfold in front of your eyes, it does that. It shows you exactly what happened. Um, that is it for today's class. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Make sure that you email me this assignment. That's going to be your attendance question today as well. Your assignment counts as your attendance. So I will mark you here based on which assignment you choose, the 15 facts or the 5 to 10 sentence summary about the news coverage. I'll post that news video up right now. And again, hope you guys have a great weekend. I look forward to seeing what you guys get. All right, guys, so this is the YouTube link that I'd like you to take a look at if you decide to watch the news coverage of that day. It is part 1 of 2. There are 2 parts, and I understand that they're both very long, so if there's nothing going on and you feel the need to fast forward, I totally understand. But this is, again, a live news coverage from the day that it happened, so you'll be experiencing everything the same way that the people on the news, myself, and people around the world were experiencing it by watching it on the news.